Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Lucid, and I am joined this time by Ravzia.
Hello.
So, we are on turn 15, and I think the news from last time is that there's a coalition basically getting brewed up for Caelum, and that all got started with him bumping Patala after Patala had an understanding that they were going to get some border provinces. And we also have Abyssia, not Abyssia, we have Mictlan and Ulm kind of having a showdown. But so far it's been a staring contest. And it appears this turn that Lemuria and Abyssia are going to fight.
Yeah, there's some more excitement this turn.
So a message from Mictlan. Feeling a bit better after that disastrous bounce. Put a dent in my confidence. Not sure how to best approach the Ulmish issue. Those heavy cav are scary. Thinking of raiding, but honestly I feel a bit too vulnerable to start something. I have naps with all my other neighbors, however, and have agreed with Lemuria to take Ulm's northern provinces. Pop kill is only a concern if you're not already blunted a province... if you've not already blood hunted a province into the ground. About to start blood hunting far away from the Ulmish border. Okay.
Okay, that's interesting because it sounds like Lemuria might also be going after Ulm,
Right.
but it seems to be that they are going after Abyssia this turn.
Yeah, and I can't remember if Abyssia just casually attacked them a turn ago. I think that might have happened.
Well, we can check the provinces.
Yeah.
You know, if you use the information, the province information thing, you can check who took it, right? So
Yeah, we can do
track
that.
it.
So, okay, Mictlan is hitting some independence here.
They finally cleared that one that they had isolated. They pinged them, though. Ah. See, now, if I am Ulm, I guess they anticipated that they might be moving there. I don't understand how you could possibly have such a large army ready,
Right.
you know, for any other reason. It's a lot of sacreds. I think it's safe to say if Mictlan is pinging them, either they back off this next turn or they're at war.
Well,
Right? Because
well, no, they're definitely at war, right?
yeah, it's very suspicious. I know they had a bounce. I guess was that on an independent province or was Mictlan attacking?
No, there was an attack. Mictlan attacked. They haven't been able to agree on borders, and I think Mictlan attacked them.
Yeah, if I was Ulm and I was looking at this border, I also wouldn't be able to agree on borders with Mictlan.
Right. And I'm not exactly sure what the original border negotiation was, but I think the more salient point here is that I think Mictlan's on the clock. They only have one fort. They've got no forts going up, and they're required to basically take this Ulmish infrastructure.
Yeah.
And
okay, so I see. So Mictlan basically got confirmation that Lemuria would not stop them from taking Ulmish land.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, and maybe Lemuria said they would attack or something to the north.
Yeah.
Who knows? But there's not really much for them to take.
Saying he would take the northern. Mictlan was saying that he would take the northern provinces. I guess I don't think there's another way for Lemuria to get involved at that point.
And, you know, I don't know if we really mentioned this, but I think these guys fell a bit into the trap of getting in an early border conflict.
Yeah, and then you feel like you have to do a lot of damage or you fall behind.
Right. Well, they haven't really, this is a horrible border with Lemuria, and Lemuria was slow expanding, right? Is not a great border. They have an okay border here, but
issues as well, right?
Yeah.
So.
And then Mictlan just has no good borders anywhere except maybe with Agartha.
Is with Ulm.
Yeah, Ulm and Agartha. I guess it's okay, yeah. But it's just like they're so committed to this conflict because it started early. It kind of, it's not devastating, but it put a little handicap on the rest of expansion.
Yeah, I mean, if Ulm were to make peace with Mictlan and kind of make a deal with the devil, they could probably take a decent chunk of land off of Abyssia and maybe recover that way, but we'll see.
Well, Abyssia has a bronze
I
colossus,
think,
which
yeah,
there's a few
yeah.
things that make me
And
say I'm
Mictlan's
not going to
probably
have, like, you are not
right.
going to be my first war target. And one of those things is a bronze colossus. Not to say you can't kill them, it's just
Oh, that's okay, right.
I
That's
would
right. It's
rather
the
go after
bronze
something
colossus.
else.
I
Yeah,
thought it was a wooden one because of the sprite, but I guess
right.
Abyssia has a different sprite for the bronze
Yeah.
colossus than the Greek ones do.
So let's take a look here. We've got the water bottle earth snake heading underwater.
Oh, he found a water bottle somewhere. He doesn't need
Yeah.
one for underwater provinces, if they're in his dominion, especially.
Oh yeah,
Although
of
there is a
course.
water mage here, but I don't think it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Water strike's
He's
not going to
taking
do
a bit of
enough
damage though.
for
They're
that
actually
guy.
getting
He's not
through
in
this.
Dominion. If he was in Dominion, he would be fine. He
Yeah.
would be taking like nothing. But he doesn't have his hard skip, so he's
Yeah.
only at 29 instead of like 34 or whatever.
But this one water elemental did work. I bet you, how many kills has it gotten so far? It's a lot. 13 kills?
13. Wow.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
been
more than
busy.
the snake, I bet.
Yeah.
Snake only gets one attack, right? Instead of four attacks.
Yeah. And these guys are so sick underwater. It's the fact they have these resistances plus now
Yeah, he got
20%
water
regen.
strike like 3 or 4 times, and he only dropped one size, which is
Yeah.
nothing for a water
Yeah.
elemental. They still do 4 attacks.
No, I think
right?
this is
It's
his main
18,
size.
18
I think the
damage.
bottles of
Oh
water.
yeah, it's a bottle. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
They're only size 5 instead of 6.
Yeah.
He didn't even care. If it doesn't kill him outright, he'll just regen it back up.
Right. Okay, so he's taken this, which is pretty nice.
I think Joman triple expanded again this turn, actually.
Okay, so that's a
They patrolled
scout.
there. Oh, I guess they pinged. They pinged the
Okay,
thing.
so this is taking a heavy cav province that Abyssia hadn't wanted to mess with. And this is interesting, because this does not strike me just looking at it as something that would demolish heavy cav. It's basically just a bunch of these Ashigars.
They do, what, 16 piercing? Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
It's enough piercing damage that if they get over the shield,
Yeah.
they can kill them.
Yeah.
And they're going to repel the hoof attacks a decent amount as well. Either of the attacks, actually. But yeah,
It
they
was
can,
pretty dicey, though. I mean...
It was. Yeah, the Ashigar are not very survivable. They have a decent weapon, and they're not, like, atrocious in terms of protection and stats. But they do fine.
He's got, I think what was actually critical to this is he's got the 100 leadership dude leading him, because there were some of these squads that could have broken here.
That guy is +1 morale, though, right?
Yeah.
Unless he didn't have heroic valor
right.
or anything. Yeah.
But I think that mattered. I mean, he lost a fair number of these dudes, and they were split up in 2 squads. So if one broke, then it would...
one squad could have broken pretty easy there, but
right, and then that's like a trickle to then it's really easy for the second squad to break once the first one does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he got a little bit lucky there, maybe, that he didn't take a worse lance charge.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess he just committed enough troops that he felt comfortable with it.
Yep. And the Prophet Ninja killed 5 dudes, so...
Yeah. If they were all heavy cav, that's pretty good. Yeah, and then he pings the throne.
So he pings the throne,
he's
conjures...
pretty much that's about as big as he's going to be able to get without fighting somebody.
Right.
Right.
And he's number 1 in army supply by a margin. He's... Oh, or he was. This Flagra, oh my gosh.
Flagra can mass a lot of stuff.
But this is late age Flagra, so they get slaves. That must be what they're slamming.
They do.
Well, we'll get to them when we get to them, but that's interesting.
Yeah, Flagra gets a lot. I think they were putting up a lot of infrastructure.
Yeah, they don't get free spawn of any kind, so...
If we're looking at the Joman position at this point, there's like 2 decisions you could make. You could play it slow and be like, I'm in a really solid position. I don't need to go kill anybody super fast. I can wait for research. I'm going to put a bunch of buffs on my Earth Snake and just take all the thrones one by one.
Yeah.
And I think that's workable.
Yeah.
Because he's bordering 3 thrones. If he takes all 3 of those and forts them all up, I think at that point you have a really good chance in your next war, and you're just looking really solid development-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that would be my decision, and I think it's something he has the time to afford because his expansion was better than everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only concern is, well, are people going to realize that you're ahead and just gang up on you if they see you taking the thrones one by one? And that's a valid concern.
Well, he's also, he is severely pissed off, or not pissed off, but he's encroached heavily on the land of Agartha and Mictlan.
Yes.
And normally
And
these
if we're
two
looking
players,
at
like if you and I were in a game and somebody did this to us, we would work together to kill
yes,
them.
we would agree to, yeah. Especially if I'm the Mictlan, I'm looking at that.
Right.
I guess I probably would have taken a strength heavy bless as Mictlan, so I wouldn't be scared of the Earth Snake
Yeah.
because I would be hitting for 30. But yeah, I would be more concerned about, hey, we're in this column, right? Why is it that Joman has half of the land in the column?
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe that's a bigger concern.
Right.
And Agartha is building up for something.
They have a ton of troops here, but I think
that
this is
is
the
a
thing. Like,
lot
if
of
you're
stuff.
making this many
Yeah,
troops,
like,
you need to go use them.
Yeah, you need to
Like-
go use them. Otherwise, they could be on 4 or 5 forts. They'd have just enough land to maybe make that viable. But they have 2 palisades that I don't see any labs or anything in.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, they've been making the decision to make all these troops instead of infrastructure upgrades, which is fine. That's a great thing to do, but you need to go you need to go get to war. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't make this many troops.
Palisade on your border.
Yeah.
There's a Joman fort on your border. Go take one of those. Right.
Now,
and if you don't, you're just increasing your upkeep and you're not getting anything out of it.
Right. Now, I'm not saying that the right plan playing Agartha is to slam troops as many as you can and then go pick an early war. Right? That may not be the decision you need to make. But if you don't do that, then you don't go quite as heavy on the troops.
Yes.
Right? So if you go heavy on the troops, you need to pick a war. You can go a little lighter on the troops. You still want to have some, but then
there's a lot of long deads in there too. So that's a gem investment as well.
Right. So yeah, I mean, and if you're making long dead with gems, you're not researching.
Yeah. And
so all this points towards like a very aggressive early play style. So hopefully we see him follow through.
Yeah, the only concern for that for me is that it doesn't look like he's been moving the troops he has scattered around. Like in his cap circle, he's had 3 different squads just sitting there for a while now.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I think he's kind of small. If he puts him on anybody's border, he's going to scare the shit out of them, right? So,
well, I mean, he's already put them on the German border just by being in his cap circle. So I don't know what he's supposed to do about that.
Well, but he hasn't moved the main contingent out, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, if anybody's got scouting on them, they would be like, if I'm Mictlan and I'm about to go fight Ulm, and I see Agartha has that many troops, like 4 turns from my capital, they just get there in 4 turns. I don't know how I'm supposed to stop it.
Well, Mictlan has a non-aggression pact with Agartha. We know that.
I'm not totally caught up on all the different. I don't know if.
Or that was just been his
would
message.
assume it's basically impossible for Agartha to have a nap with Joman.
Yeah, we don't know much of the. I don't know if they do or not.
I can't imagine Agartha would be like, yes, you have the most favorable position you could possibly get on my border without breaking into my cap circle. I'm going to make a non-aggression pact with you.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand doing that, but I mean, you can accept Joman has this position, and you can make all these troops, and you can sign a non-aggression pact to Joman, but then you have to go attack somebody else.
Yeah,
so
you have to get something else.
If it's a bad matchup, you don't, and they have a favorable position, that doesn't mean you should fight them and lose the game.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad matchup necessarily.
I think I mean, Joman really struggles versus archery early in the game. They don't really have a lot of shields. So I think it's a fine matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if Joman is investing in infrastructure and you're investing in 400 troops or whatever it is.
Right.
200, 300. You can go take. I think that especially you can see how vulnerable one fort is. It's 3 turns away from the cap. And it's hard to reinforce a fort that somebody's already sitting on top of because they can just click into you.
Right.
And intercept you. So I don't know. The only issue I would have is that if you don't go for Joman, the Patala fight looks really awkward because of that mountain range.
Yes.
And then the same thing is true with Lemuria. And it's
I mean,
don't
this
know.
is
They need to move out soon, I would say. If they're going to invest that heavily, they're going to spend their death gems and mage turns on Long Dead, and they're going to pour all their gold into troops. You have to achieve something with it.
right. Now we do have finally another Lemuria fort coming up over here, and nobody seems to be very worried about Lemuria. Nobody's paying them too much mind. And,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Agartha gets too busy fighting Patala or Joman. Lemuria could come in and maybe sweep some of this land up. But,
yeah, that's true. And, I mean, they want to, I've seen somebody play Lemuria, and if they get nothing but successive one-on-ones that they get to pick, it's a pretty strong nation.
I'd say it's a very strong nation in general.
Yeah, in that specific scenario, it's pretty hard to beat a Lemuria that's like, who should I 1v1? I'll pick this guy. And then they go kill them, and then they're like, who should I 1v1? That's probably the worst case scenario when you're trying to face a Lemuria.
Yeah. I mean, a big Lemuria is a scary Lemuria, so...
Did Abyssia attack into them first, or...?
I think they did. I think there was an Abyssian attack, but we can go back and check real quick.
I. No, you can check. You can check without exiting.
Okay, we'll
you
check.
press I.
Yeah,
you can
I know
see
how to
all
do
the
that.
people who've taken.
Okay, we'll just take a look here. So
yeah, I've actually accidentally seen people getting event assassins from that.
Okay, Abyssia.
Yeah, no, they didn't take that. So then that would be the other one.
Nope.
No, so it's Lemuria is attacking into Abyssia, unless Abyssia bounced.
Yeah, okay.
Which I don't think they did.
No, because these
this
are
would
Abyssia
be
fights. So.
one-sided aggression.
Okay. So
Can I
Lemuria is picking a fight with Abyssia.
Looking back, that was a very awkward border they had.
Right.
Because Lemuria was pushed all the way up on the left, and Abyssia was pushed all the way up on the right, for some reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it makes sense for Lemuria if they're trying to protect their forts that are going up. They're going to go after Abyssia early, and I guess it's not the worst matchup ever.
No, it's pretty good. Just fire elementals are going to give them a lot of trouble, obviously, and then they're not really going to have a way to deal with the Bronze Colossus.
The Colossus. But I mean, if you take all the provinces that don't have mages or a Bronze Colossus in it, you'll probably be looking good.
Well, yeah, and fire elementals, at least big fire elementals are probably not out yet, so.
Probably not yet, especially with the Bronze Colossus up. I doubt Abyssia has the greatest scales ever to afford all their mages.
But they should be pretty resistant to assassins, and then the normal troops aren't going to do too much. So,
yeah,
okay.
They don't have fire shield anymore, so yeah.
So he did another assassin expansion over here, Abyssia. He took this with the Bronze Colossus. I can't remember if we've seen the Bronze Colossus before.
It should have just come out, right?
Yeah, I think this is the first battle we see. So it's Astral 1, Blood 1,
really need it.
and
that. Oh, it's mindless. Okay, it should be fine.
Yeah. But it's expensive still. I think these are six. Is it 60 or 80 for these? I think it's 60, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm actually confused by that one.
Well, the blood.
He has warlock.
I mean, he could have also empowered in blood. You should never spend 60 design points to put blood 1 on your pretender. When you can just empower for it as a blood nation.
Yeah, I'm trying, I guess, if he can make a crystal coin with that guy, but he can do that with just the earth if he puts some boots on the
I'm cool with the casual Astral 1 on this guy. I am totally on board. I'm cool with it. I mean, just being able to...
What does it get you?
I mean, body ethereal for 1, which
That's
can
true.
Be game-changing.
He doesn't need to bring anybody for it.
Right. I mean, he could do Power the Spheres, which, depending on the circumstance, could be critical.
Yeah, that gets in a storm, so...
Right. So, I mean, honestly, it's worth it just to have the option to do Body Ethereal.
You know what else it does?
What's that?
It means he's going to off-script Gifts from Heaven, point blank with his innate caster.
Oh, well, that's actually dangerous. But yeah, I mean, I think just doing it for body ethereal
Education 5
is worth it.
The
Yeah.
blood one does really confuse me as well.
I
Because
like
he already...
Death. I think actually Astral one, Death one would be cool one paths, because then that queues up Soul Vortex later.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'd probably just go Astral 2, Death
Astral
2.
2 so that you can do teleporting and make it crystal point easier. And Blood 1 makes no sense when you have Warlocks to me. I guess maybe you can do Hell Power at some point. But
you just empower is the thing.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess you just empower anyway. 50 Blood Slave is not a lot in late age.
So he's casting Earthmeld and Flying Shard and Fist of Iron.
Flying Shards. Well, it's an 8, so he's going to cast something. But it's really slowing him down, I think. Unless... Oh, he's Earth 4. He's probably not too fatigued.
Yeah,
Does he have... Okay,
he did summon Earth Power, okay.
Yeah, summon Earth Power.
So he's got Conjuration 3. He could put up a fight against Lemuria. I mean, honestly, two lesser fire elementals will do some work.
Yeah.
They'll kill a lot of ghosts.
Especially if they're standing behind the front line,
right,
so they don't get the aggro right away.
Right.
And a bunch of Abyssia stuff is fire resistance still in late age, so that can work out.
Yeah.
So he's got some counterplay available with the Bronze Colossus especially.
Let's check his fort situation out here again. He's got... Oh, he's got this fort.
Just for one, yeah.
Okay.
He's probably going to upgrade.
You know, having one fort, but he's got a lab and a temple in it. You know, that's okay. I'll get that passing marks.
Yeah, he does have a... The lab not showing up on the right really messes with me sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't do that. Maybe we should bug report that one. You can see it on the map, but you can't see it listed in the sites. Oh, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But, you know, it's the kind of thing, if Illwinter fixes it, there's like a 20% chance it makes some other
that they just take
bug
away the ability to see it anyway? Yeah.
Well, no, just, you know, the game's so complicated, and I have a feeling it was... they told us what language it was coded in, but I think it was like C basic.
I bug reported the disease demons being able to go underwater, even though they have no amphibious. I expected them to take away the ability to target underwater with the spell, and instead they just made them amphibious. So, you know, if you tell them we can see labs on the strategic map, but not on the site bar on the side, there's, you know, 10% chance they remove the ability to see them on the strategic map.
That's pretty funny. I didn't know that that's how disease demons got the amphibious trait.
Yes, I read it. I'm sorry.
All right, so, okay. We've already discussed, so that means we're done with this column. Let's come take a look at Flagra, because Flagra is just shitting out units.
Yes, they are. What are they making? Iron Guard, hello.
So he's making indie crossbows, so I like that.
Everywhere.
Now, Flagra has some of the best crossbowmen in the game, because they're 8 gold slaves. So they have hardly any upkeep. And
they still have 10 precision, which is good enough.
Right.
Why can't he see this this channel is the real question.
Oh, Wolf, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, he's got... Okay, so on one hand, he's got the best crossbowman in the game he can get out of forts. On the other hand, if all you care about is just having a lot of... Like, it's like, do you care about power or efficiency? Right? Mm-hmm. And here, because he's making the indie crossbows, that means he cares about power, which I think is the right call early. And he's getting a ton of these Iron Guard. So it's Iron Guard, Helot crossbows, Iron Guard crossbows. He just has an enormous army, and he looks like... I thought he was going to attack Caelum this last turn, because there's a ton of dudes on the border.
Yeah, and I mean, there's... I guess Caelum is probably one of the few nations that can try and defend that palisade because of the flying.
Right.
But I think anybody else, it would be like... Seeing how many different forces can converge on that, it would be very disheartening to defend.
Right. I mean, Caelum actually has the right comp to defend against it too, because he could PD dump, and it would have stuff in the front that the line, you know, the Iron Guard would run at. Meanwhile, the archers get like swarmed by birds in the back. So, and he's got 20 PD here. But okay, this will probably be for next. I can't imagine you wait a whole nother turn with this.
Yeah. It's interesting to pump out troops like that because it takes a long time to gather them together.
Yeah.
When you have them in like literally every single province, you can recruit crossbows in. Like the provinces to the south of the capital, he's recruiting more crossbowmen there.
Yeah.
So like every province he can, he's recruiting crossbowmen, but he doesn't have commanders to lead all of them, I would imagine.
Well, you
so
just
it's
get
take
commanders
a while to collect them. Yeah, he makes one, and he spends 5 or 6 turns collecting all the crossbowmen.
You don't make one, you make multiple.
Sure, but it still takes you 5 or 6 turns to get the one, from all the way in the back to the front line. It takes a while.
Yeah, I mean, I did this with Bogurus and just like held down the independent crossbow key.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of micro, and you just have to commit to having more commanders than you would normally want to get. Yeah. But once you make the commitment, it's just like, okay, well, now we're slamming crossbows everywhere.
Yeah, it's a legitimate strategy too, especially for an early game rush. I remember doing it underwater. It works too when you're trying to beat water elemental timing. You're like, well, I'll just put 200 more troops onto the field from independence. And I mean, it can
water troops are like so low resource. You can actually just slam underwater.
And I mean, if it's the right type of crossbowmen, they're cheap as well.
Right.
And judging by the numbers, he's probably got a good
these I think are the ring. You can tell if you zoom in. These are the ring mail. Wait, no, that might be. I think that's ring mail.
But he's got 10 of them.
These are the plate mail. You can tell. These are the plate mail.
These are the expensive
These
guys.
are the ring mail. Ring mail. Plate mail.
Yeah. And he's got fewer in these provinces.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I mean, if I were Caelum and I were to look at Flagra, and you're like, he doesn't have any forts there. He's got 4, all of the border provinces have troops in them. He's not bordering anybody else when he's standing there. That's a pretty big red flag.
Yeah. Definitely something you want to like.
I would be like, hey, bro, why are you positioning against me? I'm going to go fight Lemuria or something.
Right. And if he says, oh, nothing, then I'll be like, okay, well, if it's nothing, then let's sign a non-aggression pact if I don't want to fight him.
Yeah.
And if he's like, oh, I'm still figuring out how I'm going to pick my first war with, I'll be like...
I mean, if you're Caelum and you're looking at that, Patala could still be going for the farmland. So you might think, okay, I can 1v1 Flagra. I have flyers, he's got crossbowmen, I can do something with that.
Yeah.
But if you think Patala's going in on you, at that point, suddenly it becomes a lot more concerning.
Now, they were also mentioning getting Satis involved, but Satis really does not have much over here yet. We can see he's making all of these Falchineers, but we don't really see any yet.
Yeah, but I mean, it's... he can be at +3 provinces in 3 turns, right? If Caelum can't put anything in his way, because he can just start raiding from the other fort.
Yeah.
So it's not too far away for Satis. The most obvious threat, I would still say, for Caelum is going to be Flagra.
Right.
So I would expect the first major battle, if there is one, to be maybe for that palisade down there, if Caelum doesn't want to give it up. But if Caelum's like, I can't defend that, then you might see them playing a little bit more conservatively, trying to raid and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. And that brings us, we kind of covered Caelum. He's got Patala over here. Satis, we've been told they've been invited to attack them, but we don't really see much.
One thing we have not discussed as much this turn as even last turn is independence. They're pretty much, for the most part, there's 1 or 2 scattered about, but most people are running out of independent provinces.
Right. And that is when the what should we call it? Yeah. It's when the trigger happy among us start looking for war targets.
So, it's when the colorblind people, they keep right clicking and then they realize they're in war.
That's right. So,
And then everybody else is like, wait, they're at war? I need to go to war now. And
right.
at that point, everybody's at war.
So yeah, we're getting close to that. We'll come over here and look at Patala. So Patala's got a decent amount of troops over here. It's mostly these Atavi archers and these light Bandar.
Light Bandar. See, it generates a ton of projectiles because I believe the light Bandars have the sticks and stones stuff.
Right.
And they even have light Bandar archers surrounded out.
I don't think these units do well against Caelum.
Yeah, do we think Caelum is worried about that?
So we don't really see that many Caelum units. So like Caelum, they're okay. I mean, they're number 4 in the army size, but a pretty distant number 4.
Yeah, and I mean, if we even just compare them to Flagra, it's pretty concerning that even a second person is being mentioned if they might struggle to fend off the Flagrans by themselves.
Right.
And I mean, light Bandar warriors are not like amazing in melee, but neither are Caelumites.
Well, the thing is that they have bad defense, if I recall. Bandar warriors, light Bandar warriors. Bad. So they have, it's 10. And they have
they have a bit more HP and damage, but they have less protection, I would say, depending on what Caelum makes.
Yeah, I mean, Caelum is going to be just the Spire Horns.
Yeah,
they're going to get third. Actually, I don't know. I think that Caelum will trade well gold for gold with Spire Horns, but it's not going to be amazing.
Not amazing troop per troop.
Yeah.
Does Caelum get inflated by being size 3? On the troop graph, or is it HP?
No, I think you're right. I think it is size points.
Okay.
So it's probably a little inflated because he doesn't look like he. I mean, he looks kind of behind in troops.
Well, he's got a decent little group on his capital, but compared to like Flagra, it's not looking great.
Yeah. Okay, so Patala, they're building a bunch of archers.
They're a little cramped in. There's a few nations like that have gotten a little cramped in, like Ulm and Patala.
Yeah,
only really have one solid border.
Right. Arco.
I mean, another expansion. That's good. The farmland. Finally using those the monkeys.
The Cerulean Guard.
Very little this fight. Very slowly meandering around,
knifing the commanders
after most everything else has been routed.
So, they killed a fair amount of stuff just from the report
on the
card.
Retreat, right?
Yeah.
The Heart Companions did not do as good as I would have thought.
Yeah.
The Slingers did about as much as I thought they would. Double expansion's good.
Yeah,
for this stage, they're pretty good size now. They ran out of indies, but
I think this is okay.
It seems like if Flagra and Patala go to war, and Mictlan goes to war, then Arco is pretty much sitting there. They have their pick of places they can choose to go into.
What we do not see is a fort yet.
Yeah, that's concerning for a late age Arco, right?
They do want
big
forts.
Strength is the Mystics.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no fort at all.
What kind of scales does he have? It's a little blurry for me.
He's got 1 order, 3 productivity.
He's got growth 3.
Growth 3.
Yeah,
magic
growth 3. I would imagine he would be able to afford a second fort at this point. That's concerning to me.
He had slow expansion, though, a bit. So even though he's catching up now, he hasn't had a lot of this land for long. And he also is making, like... The Cerulean Warriors are expensive, right? They're like...
Yeah.
I mean, given how many 18, you can make...
I thought they would be more.
Yeah.
And he's still using cap space on Heart Companions as well, so that's taking up some of the recruitment points, I'd imagine. He doesn't have such a massive army.
Oh my god. Well, this is why. Look at 40 PD here. Okay, so he was worried somebody was going to attack him.
Like Mictlan might attack him, I
25
guess,
PD
or Joan
here.
even. Can we see the province graph again? I would suspect he'd be in third place at this point, or at least on income somewhere around there. And no, I might have been wrong.
I was tied
No,
for
third
second.
place. Yeah. Caelum got bigger than
Yeah.
Flagra. Interesting.
Yeah, Caelum second place.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're tied for second in size and you haven't expanded that poorly, I would expect a second fort to be going up, at least on
Yeah.
turn. What turn is it now?
Well, I think he's done some PD dumps. Is what we've got a 25 and we've got a 40, and a 40 is very expensive. Now it's worth it if you use it, but
there's nothing there.
He hasn't been attacked, right? So he got jumpy that somebody was going to attack him, and he dropped 40. I think it's worth, unless you have a very, very good intuition, you're about to be attacked, and you are like, you don't want to queue it up that it's worth it to just ask the person, like say, hey, like, do you want to be friends or something? And if they say no,
how much gold is that?
I mean,
like 900, 1,000, something like that.
You can look it up on your phone. It's the thing to search for, to Google for, is the triangle number. So you can the 40 triangle 40, number.
21 or something.
It's I mean, here I'll look it up real quick.
You take the lowest amount you invest and the highest amount, which is 40 and 1, and then you average those and multiply it by the number of times you invest. Right? So it's
triangle number calculator.
40. I'm gonna say 820. Let's see if I'm right.
Okay, and then we type in 40 and I hit calculate, and the number is 820.
Boom.
So yeah, that's expensive. That's like a fort.
I mean, it's a good province to defend.
Right.
It's a 200, income farmland.
But he could just, like, if you're worried about Joman attacking you, he could just send the snake, right? So
and let's be honest, the Earth Snake, either it will not take enough damage to be chipped to death. Well, I guess with 40 PD, there's a concern on lower PD numbers that instead of chipping the snake to death, you get scared and run away. So, like, more troops can somewhat solve that issue. But if the snake has, like, a single person standing there buffing it, suddenly that worry disappears for Joman. So
yeah, I mean, it's
you can, if you have a scout there, and I don't know if we should necessarily attribute this to new players, but you can tell it's more than 20 PD if you have a scout there.
Right.
40 PD, 21 plus is exceptionally powerful and very well organized, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I mean, Arco.
Yeah, if there was
the nation Arco plays. The nation Arco plays a lot around research and buffs and mages. Yeah. And you really
like
need
a critical
forts.
Mass of troops combined with mages.
Right. It's not a cap-only nation where you just are like...
Not at all, yeah.
You're okay just with your capital doing stuff.
I don't know how many of those there are in late age.
Yeah, right? most of late age is much more scales-oriented.
Yeah.
So
if they were concerned about Mictlan, the PD dump makes a bit more sense because... if that gives you 40 crossbowmen, that's a pretty big deterrent to Jaguar warriors.
Right.
So I can understand it a bit more, but it's a very large investment, and so far it has done nothing for them.
Yeah. So, okay, so that covers Arco. We've covered Patala. We have not talked about Bogurus yet. So,
yes, they were doing well earlier, but they ran out of provinces.
Right. So they have a fort coming up here.
Yeah.
They've got a fort coming up here.
They're kind of doing normal development, taking their time.
They're making a ton of Malia Druzina in the cap.
Yeah.
Which I'm just going to say...
There is a trap that...
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, there's a trap that you can get into as a newer player where you're like, okay, what am I supposed to build early on? And then you keep building that thing.
Right.
And, he doesn't have any extra forts up yet. he doesn't know who he's going to need to fight. So it's like, this is my best troop. I'll keep making it in case I
Right.
need it.
Yeah.
And over time, you get a bit better at judging when you can turn off the recruitment and when you need it in case one of your neighbors attacks, or when you need it because you're building up to attack a neighbor. And
Yeah.
that's the thing I think that experience helps a lot with. So we might see like Agartha maybe make the same mistake where they are over recruiting for what they actually need.
So there's, I think, a couple things to say on the Malia Druzina. One is that it's very, compared to your other units for military power, it's reasonably resource efficient. You're going to be putting much more power on the field per resource spent with Malia Druzina than most of your other units. But it's not necessarily super gold efficient.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Heavy cav in general, it's hard to use as a main line troop because it gets outmassed so heavily, and then it's about as weak to magic counters as normal infantry with the same protection and HP would be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of
So
times,
it's a
heavy
much
cav
higher
just
golden
tends to kind of fall off a bit. Like, this is not sacred heavy cav, just scales heavy cav. Tends to fall off a bit in player versus player matchups. Maybe not for like this turn, like turn 15, it might still be pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
But like you're saying, once magic comes
somebody
out,
brings the same cap turns worth of infantry, you might still be able to overwhelm them with the lance charge and everything. But against fire elementals, as an example, are heavy cav worth the extra gold invested? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's worth pointing out, Bogurus is still, they're labbing up provinces that they're making forts in. So, if they get that up, they get their mages out, they're going to be in a decent position still.
Yeah.
They still have a little bit of time. They're not in a imminent invasion scenario that I can see. It doesn't look like anybody's prepping to fight them.
Yeah, I think
so, maybe the Joman, if anything, although I don't know where that force is going. It might be to the throne, but
well, there's nothing. Yeah, I mean, they've got Joman is moving some stuff this way, so we'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, Bogurus has some stuff. It'll be interesting to see how they continue fleshing out this army and who they pick for their first war target. But
yep, and I think Bogurus is another one of those. There's a lot of them in late age where the more experience you have, the better you can use the mages, because they're a little bit lower level. They need a little bit more finesse to get the most out of the magic path that they have.
It's a pretty high. It takes a decent amount of skill to be decent with Bogurus. Like, it's not.
Yeah, a lot of blood micro too, and
it is not. It is probably one of the least new player friendly nations in the game. So
yeah, like Marignanish.
Yeah.
In late age, lots of blood astral.
So I think we've covered everybody, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
What are your closing thoughts here? As we, what are you looking forward to? Let's put it that way for the next turn.
Some very interesting turns. Well, there's a couple. Some people need to make some decisions, right? Especially the later people we've been talking about, like Bogurus, Arco. They're not on the clock yet, but they're running out of independence. Everybody is. So people are going to have to start making the decision. Do I hunker down for a few more turns until my forts are done, or do I go after somebody?
Right.
And obviously, there's a few wars that seem like they're just about to heat up, and that's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here with Caelum. It looks like they're about to be in a really hard situation, and then I'm also really interested. I feel like this old Mictlan thing, they're sitting on this fence, and I feel like they've got one or the other has to get off the fence. Having a Cold War is just not good for either side.
If we're talking about that front, just the last thing to mention, you could see a fight next turn on that forest. Because if Mictlan is scared about that big army they just pinged, what are they going to do? What do they want to do? They want to group together.
Right.
And if Ulm wants to prevent Mictlan from walking to their cap, maybe that's the province they decide to move to. So we'll see.
We'll see. So that's going to be exciting. And then where was the other place that looked like there were a ton of troops built up?
Lemuria and Abyssia.
Oh yeah,
are
Lemuria and
fighting.
Abyssia.
Wow. And I mean, it doesn't look super flashy yet, but if it goes really well for Lemuria, you're going to be in a situation where you have a very scary Lemuria
Right.
and not a lot of people who look like they're interested in fighting them.
Yeah. Lemuria with a big fire income becomes pretty interesting too. You start fire empowering some dudes, things get pretty spicy.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I don't think anybody really wants to give them 2 caps.
Right.
But if all those people are busy fighting Caelum, well, and Joman's not necessarily the greatest matchup into
I mean, we
Lemuria.
haven't gotten a message about Lemuria. Nobody said a damn thing about them.
Yeah, you would imagine Agartha's like, oh, I have a border with Lemuria now, little concern.
Yeah.
Or maybe Caelum's like, wow, I have the best matchup. I'll go take a couple forts off of them and get this coalition off my back. But nothing.
I mean, it's a great time to play Lemuria.
Mictlan said, hey, he agreed to let me take some land off of Ulm. That's it.
Yeah.
Abyssia hasn't said, I'm a little concerned, I border Lemuria.
And, we're playing with, where is it, mods? We're playing with Rebirth on. So you go killing Lemuria early, these are going to become, 2-3K population provinces.
And like we said, Agartha, Caelum, these are nations that get a lot out of killing Lemuria because they can use the depth gems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, Ulm can even use the depth gems too. Probably not as well as these two, but yeah.
Yeah, even Abyssia can use them. They have death in late age a little bit.
Okay.
I think they use death to get more of their ethereal secrets, actually.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, they could use them pretty well too.
All right.
Well, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.